Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. It is Monday, March 18th, and Joe Biden. Good old Joey. The guy that hits a golf ball backwards, that one still gets me. Looks for dead people in the crowd, falls up a flight of stairs multiple times, which now he's taking the short stairs to get in the Air Force One, falls off his bicycle standing stationary, converses with dead people in G7 meetings. I still can't figure that one out. Nobody can explain it coherently, and definitely not Joe Biden himself. He takes photos with people at events that weren't even in the state, let alone at the event itself, loses his train of thought, fights with his teleprompter, going on 4 years now. We're going to hit 4 years, and this damn thing has been undefeated. Give it a heavyweight titleship belt, folks, for defeating Joe Biden every single day. He is still the worst president in American history. Patriots, go damn. It's great to be back with you on this fine Monday morning. I hope none of you celebrated St. Patrick's Day because you're not Irish. And according to the left, if you did, you committed cultural appropriation, and shame on you. Shame on you for celebrating St. Patrick's Day when you yourself are not Irish. Of course, I'm being facetious. I hope you guys had a lovely and damn good St. Patrick's Day. Whether you celebrated or not, I hope you had a lovely weekend. And boy, oh boy, do we got a show for you all today, because the CIA, yes, the Central Intelligence Agency, may have been involved in January 6th, especially when it comes to the pipe bomb or bombs that were found at the DNC with the almost Vice President Kamala Harris in the building, pedestrians walking feet from this pipe bomb. Nobody's in alarm over the fact that there's a pipe bomb where pedestrians are and the incoming vice president and also the RNC. The CIA was on site, folks. Why is the CIA there? What is going on with this? Dan Bongino thinks it is the biggest conspiracy theory, not conspiracy theory, rather. I mean, it kind of is, but the biggest, cover up in American history. We're hopefully going to break down a little bit of that update with all of you. But before we jump into that, let's cover a little bit of news here with Comer saying Biden impeachment inquiry will lead to multiple criminal referrals. Now, I will say the GOP has been extremely weak on this whole handling of this Biden family investigation, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Hunter Biden gave them the double middle finger by not showing up when he was subpoenaed. And then he shows up, he's like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. I mean, I understand that's Trump's voice, but, it could be Hunter's too. So the corruption focus, it's morning, folks, okay? Bear with me here. I haven't had enough coffee yet. So the corruption-focused impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden will lead to criminal referrals. So not actual anything really criminal going to prosecution, just referrals. The lead investigator in the probe said on Sunday. So this comes from James Comer, who made the announcement on Fox News while discussing his plans to proceed with a public hearing this week. Again, more hearings, nothing's going to happen. Even though Biden's son Hunter declined to participate after he took part in a private deposition last month. Quote, if he does not show up, then it's going to not end well for the Bidens, because we have 3 witnesses that, quote, have already testified under oath to significantly different stories as to what exactly the Bidens' influence peddling schemes were. Now, this is nothing new. I mean, hell, it wasn't even under oath or even behind closed doors where you had Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's business partner, coming out and saying, look, I don't know why they're saying we haven't talked to Joe Biden about the business dealings. He's the big man. We gave him 10% cut on whatever was being peddled and schemed. Money laundering or embezzlement, whatever you want to call it, allegedly. We got to be careful here. So we knew this out in the open. We knew that Devin Archer and these business associates with Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, James Biden, hell, all the Bidens, were having dinner at the White House when he was vice president. They were going golfing with the guy. People think when I say that Joe Biden hit a golf ball backwards, they think I'm joking, like, oh, he's just being silly. No, Joe Biden hit a freaking golf ball backwards. We had videotape of it. It's just wild. So we all knew that this was happening. We'll see if anything comes to light about this. But again, GOP have just been really weak. He says here, this is very serious because we're at the point now of criminal referrals. After Baratomo asked the chairman how many criminal referrals were in the making, Comer said there would be multiple criminal referrals, but he didn't say how many or exactly who would be receiving them. So again, we'll have to find out on that one. Biden and his defenders have sought to counter the impeachment effort, calling it a sham inquiry lacking impeachable offenses. Still, the president's denials of being involved in his family members' business dealings have been basically lacking evidence, gaining evidence depending on who the hell you're talking to. But I think it's still something that should be looked at under the hood because this guy has lied on multiple occasions, and the story has shifted on multiple occasions over the last 3 years regarding his handlings of what's taking place. At the very least, look into Hunter Biden, whether he's a private citizen or not, shady business dealings being put forward as evidence from the text messages, the emails, the business partners, the business associates, the companies, Shokin, the Ukrainian prosecutor. You have so much evidence, it is freaking head spinning to look deeper into this guy. They have fraud risks associated with their accounts and their shell companies that you'll never see in your entire life. We've seen the checks coming from China into James Biden's bank account, into Hunter Biden's bank account, into like Joe Biden's bank account. Hell, it's going everywhere, and they're gonna tell us, "Oh, it was to pay back a truck that Hunter Biden couldn't afford." Hunter Biden supposedly couldn't afford a truck, although he's getting $60,000 checks here, multi-millions here. Yeah, sure, no, he can't afford a truck. You're right. No, yeah, it was all to pay back his father. We have accumulated lots of evidence of wrongdoing from the 170 suspicious act. Oh, I didn't know it was that many. I thought it was 20. Holy crap. 170 suspicious activity reports? That just knocked the wind out of me. Remember how I just said like 30 seconds ago, you'll never see one of these in your lifetime? You won't even know anybody in your lifetime other than now the Bidens that have had one of these. These dude have 170? Holy shit. Yeah, I cussed. That's insane. But nothing to see, folks. Why open up any investigations according to the Democrats? Why look under the hood on this? Only 170 suspicious reports of which you'll never see in your lifetime. Somehow one family has 170 of them? Okay. To the multiple shell companies that were used to launder the money, and then send the 10 different Biden family members increment payments, which we've seen the proof. We've seen the receipts. All the payments from Romania, Kazakhstan, hell, you got Ukraine, Russia, China's included, not even included here, but we know China's included. Remember how the Bidens go during the campaign trail, specifically in 2020 when they're looking at Donald Trump? Oh, you're in the pockets of the Russians, the Chinese, all these people. Whatever Biden said as he was referring to Trump is actually just the Bidens. Joe Biden was projecting onto others, of which is just himself. That's all it was. And same with Hillary Clinton. Oh, Donald Trump's so corrupt. Look what he does with his tax evasion, all these things. No, it's just Hillary Clinton and her schemy elitists and the gross elitists, the swamp that she's associated with along with her husband. They're just talking about themselves. Whatever they project on Republicans, it's just talking about themselves. When they call us racist or bigots, no, it's just the Democrat Party that are racist. That was their inception, was slavery and racism, Jim Crow laws. That was lynching. That was all of them. So whatever they project on Republicans is just them talking about themselves at the end of the day. So this is wild. I didn't know that. That was a kick. 170 activity reports. Holy shit. So that's the update. We'll see what goes on. We'll see if the GOP actually wants to, really bear down here. I don't think they're going to. They relax on Hunter, and I think they're going to continue to be lax. Hopefully Joe Biden's going to be out of office here in the next few months, November. But God, so we'll see what comes of that. In other news, we still have TikTok being swirled around here, where House Intel chair defends TikTok bill, warns of Chinese propaganda tool. Now, there is an association with TikTok and the Chinese Communist Party, specifically the military side of the Chinese Communist Party, possibly gathering private citizens, both young and old, here in America's data. And that's a huge problem. There's also a huge problem with the fact of the specificity, also the generality, which is on both sides of the bill, doesn't really lay good groundwork in terms of other countries possibly having, meaning private companies in other countries, having the utilization of social media or some sort of app that may be gathering information. And so it's kind of loosey-goosey. I'm wavering on this. I'm not really sure. I'm honestly actually leaning towards keeping TikTok in place. I like the idea of removing the Chinese Communist Party aspect of it, but I don't like the broad language where just because it's American held, this could lead to kind of an unraveling of basically the executive branch, specifically the Biden administration, telling companies what they can and can't do. And I'm not a big fan of just even Republicans or government in general telling companies what they can and can't do. And I think this opens up the doorway for that through this bill. Well, on Sunday, the House Intelligence Chairman Mike Turner offered a defense of the bill passed by the lower chamber last week that could lead to the U.S. ban on TikTok unless its Chinese-based parent company, ByteDance, divests in the popular social media app. So again, there's kind of two routes. If they don't want to divest here from ByteDance, which is again is a Chinese parent company of it, which has supposedly connections with the military side of the Chinese Communist Party. If they don't divest in that, that's one option. Then the other option is that you just sell the company in 180 days. There's really only two options here. The option for them to stick around would just be to divest again from ByteDance. I don't know if they are or are not going to do that. I guess we'll find out soon. Quote, this week, anchor Martha, was that Raddatz? Is that how you say that? Asked Turner about the legislation on ABC News, noting that his support for the bill is one area in which he has broken from former President Donald Trump. That bill could potentially ban TikTok. You say it's a national security concern, she said. I know you had that classified briefing. What can you tell us that'll make it more clear to Americans why this is a problem? Turner replied, we have to first start with that China is a country that's not like us. It's an authoritarian regime that has self-identified as an adversary to the United States. That is all true. Again, you don't want an adversary gathering people's private information and potentially even government officials' information. It has banned Twitter. It has banned Facebook. It has banned YouTube in China. I don't know. Did it ban YouTube in China? I thought it only banned certain aspects of these, some of these social media apps. He added, it understands the power of social media and social media apps. It certainly seeks in a number of legal ways to obtain the data of Americans that it can use as part of a perpetuation of the greater surveillance society that it utilizes in its own country, and also has its utilization in controlling its own population. So I think there's some truth to that. But the other side of it is what they're feeding the American people here. So a lot of this idea is around not just the suction of data and utilizing it for their benefit, but the idea of to control its own population. That same idea is believed to be utilized on our teens as well as Americans here, where it's feeding Americans certain videos, certain ideology that will change or alter their value system. And when you alter the value system of Americans, you thus alter the value system of the culture. And when you alter the value system of the culture or just the ideology of the culture, then that ultimately is downstream of politics, and you change the politics and dynamic of the country. And it can have serious issues in our social fabric. And another country could be instituting those very things here, utilizing an app, because millions of people are on this bad boy. And that's all these kids do, right? They just swipe all freaking day long, hours on end. When President Xi stood next to President Vladimir Putin in Russia, Turner continued, he openly said that the world was what the intentions were. He said that we, the two of them, are going to bring about change that hasn't happened in 100 years. That's the battle between authoritarianism and democracy. And that's certainly what we're seeing in China's both economic, its propaganda, and certainly its military buildup that is part of a self-declaration as an adversary of the United States. Now, this is going to kind of deviate away from TikTok for one just moment, because we've talked a lot about here, especially last year, on China's military. We've gone as far as looking at leaked audio before. We've talked about which provinces in China specifically that they're building up, because if those provinces crash, then the supply chain that's going to Taiwan or other military installations is going to be basically crumbled. China is building up for something, and they've been doing so for decades. There's a lot of books on this, and my fear is that the United States is not taking this seriously. I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like our military is capable of taking on China present time. And I say that because we can't even get enough people recruited. We're having to lower the standards of IQ scores, meaning for the ASVAB, the physical scores for people to get into the military. We're lowering everything to be able to just fill what we need to be filled. I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be at with China. And by the way, China's long game probably is too, to wait till the United States' debt is so terrible to where we couldn't even afford to go into war. So I think the Chinese are playing a really great long game here. And by great, I'm not for it, obviously. But the long game is happening, and it has been happening. And the TikTok idea is just one example of that long game that they're utilizing to go after America and its citizens. You also have asked the congressman if there is a recent evidence showing that TikTok is sending significant amounts of data about Americans to the Chinese government. What you see is a structural relationship for which there is no divisions, and there are great concerns about the individual's privacy and issues of data. I don't understand why he just didn't come out and say it if they are. So that makes me wonder, is TikTok really sending our information to the Chinese? I don't know for sure. It's not healthy for youth any which way you look at it. I personally think if you're under the age of 18, you should not be allowed to use TikTok. I would say even starting at 15, 16, because the development of the brain, heck, even earlier than that, there's no reason as to why you need specifically social media a lot of the youngsters that I've talked to said, oh, well, we needed to get information. We needed to, that's where we get our news from. Well, you get your news from a lot of different sources, like we're doing here. None of this that we're showing here is from TikTok. Very rarely have I ever utilized, I don't think I actually ever have, utilized TikTok to receive news from. I generally read different stuff here, but I think you know what I mean. So we'll see if this actually goes through. I'll keep you updated on the TikTok stuff. If you're on TikTok, great. If you're not, well, that's healthy. So, well, we're going to move into a little bit of illegal immigration news here for you folks. This one is wild. We got a lot of different news coming from Minnesota to Chicago to Haitians killing Americans. I mean, we got all sorts of stuff here. And then we'll get into our main story about the CIA being involved in freaking January 6th, which is head spinning. So there's an illegal immigrant and migrants specifically who could be getting cash payments under Minnesota bill. Folks, this is basically what Chicago, New York City is doing. I think it's Chicago that's giving illegal immigrants $84,000 a year. They're giving them rental assistance. They're giving them free food. We just covered the other day how they're going to be paying for their education, travel expenses, potential electricity bill, housing. We don't even get that as Americans, as taxpayers. So here, cash payments under this Minnesota bill. So more money going to people. A Minnesota House of Representatives panel approved a basic income program Tuesday that would provide monthly cash payments to people regardless of citizenship status. This is insane. Americans are having trouble to put food on the table. That's not an exaggeration. Americans are having trouble paying their bills. They can't even pay for their own debt. They're putting things on credit cards. And this is just more money being shelled out to people that haven't paid into the system, and people that have paid in the system aren't able to benefit from the very system that they paid into. This is the Democrat Party, you guys. It is. Look, none of this was my opinion. That is all fact. Haven't given my damn opinion this whole episode yet. That is just a pure fact. People are siphoning from a system of which they haven't paid into. And you have the Democrat Party complaining about this. You have the locals in Minnesota and Chicago, as well as New York City, getting upset with the Democrat Party, the very people they voted in office, that continue to vote in office, over this whole handling of the southern border, that's siphoning money from their wallets, siphoning money from the localities, the education system, of which they had to redistribute money from the education system to illegal immigrants to help pay for all this stuff. And then they get upset with the politicians that they voted for because the politicians said, hey, we're for sanctuary cities, we're for paying illegal immigration, this is what I'm going to do, and you're behind it until it actually affected you. Am I wrong? Let me know in the live chat if I'm wrong. I think you guys are going to be with me on that one. A little bit of a rant there, but the Children and Families Committee voted to progress the bill, providing a monthly income for up to 2 years to the House Human Services Finance Committee. The legislation's sponsor, state representative, argued it expanded on other initiatives promoting increased opportunity. It's all about opportunities, you guys. Opportunities for whom? It should be opportunities for American citizens. It's the American citizens' country. It's the citizens who took the oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, which we all took basically at dint of birth when I guess we didn't technically choose to be in this country, but other people did that migrated here illegally. They chose to be a part of this American dream, of which is basically being chiseled away by giving free money to other people to create opportunities for them when that opportunity should only be given to them when they have legal status. When you're giving opportunities to people without legal status, what's the point of then having, one, a border, and two, legality in any structure in terms of being an immigrant or non-immigrant? And Democrat Party people, specifically these libs, go, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we shouldn't have open borders. Or sorry, we should have open borders, and we shouldn't have legal or illegal. It's just everybody runs free. You have something like that happens, you're going to have more than just 10 million people pour across the border. Everybody wants to flock here because this is the best place to live. Even though the libs and these Democrats and these extreme progressive lefties, they don't think it is. There's a reason why everybody wants to flock to the United States. There's a reason why everybody's fleeing, which is kind of funny, right? Because we're supposedly a huge racist country. Why would you want to flee a place of oppression to go to another place of oppression that's supposedly worse than any other country out there? Let that one sink in, right? Doesn't make sense. Of course it doesn't, because the libs came up with it. I'm very excited to be presenting this bill. It builds on the successes and lessons that were learned from Springboard. Oh, is it really based on lessons? Then you haven't learned. So over 80 basic income programs that are nationwide. The legislation would supply residents, here we go, initially receiving public benefits or maintaining a household income of less than 300% of poverty line monthly installments between $350 to $1,200. Mind you have to understand, this is just for this type of program. There's other programs out there that are shelling just thousands of dollars to these people. They're giving them free food. They're giving them meal vouchers. Hell, some of them are giving them baby formula before Americans were getting baby formula. The medical bills are being paid for. This don't be fooled like, oh well, $350, $1,200 ain't bad for monthly installments. Some people are only making $1,200 a month here as Americans. Where's their help? Where's their support on all this? And by the way, shouldn't this be going to our veterans? Should this be going to our homeless? Should this be going to American citizens that may or may not have paid into the system but need to be uplifted and helped and given an actual opportunity because they are citizens of this country? Just a question. It's just a question. Don't come after me. It's just a question. So you have this Children and Families Committee data surrounding undocumented immigrants would inform the program's goals of disrupting poverty and advancing equity. But equity for whom? Do you understand? It's amazing that we can't even figure out equity for Americans, but we're so concerned with other people other than Americans that we're actually concerned with the equity of other people rather than our own people that vote these very same people in office that are basically screwing the very people over that voted them in office. It's astonishing. And what will they do? They'll continue to vote for them in office. I know it's head spinning, you guys. I live in California. I see it all the time. Folks, Nancy Pelosi was in office for how long? Her face started melting off her body before she was done. She still looks like she's not smiling, but she is. Kamala Harris is vice president. She ran the state into the ground. Gavin Newsom wants to run for president. This place is such a dumpster fire. It's head spinning. You go to LA, homeless people everywhere. You could smell it, you guys. I'm not exaggerating. It's going to be on your, the air is so bad. It's so thick in LA. It's not exaggeration. You will have it stuck to your clothing. You could drive 40 miles south, windows down, and your clothing will still smell like downtown LA because it's so disgusting. Not an exaggeration. I'm almost sounding like Joe Biden here. I go, not a joke, man. Not kidding. Yeah, no, we aren't kidding here. It's terrible what they're doing, and this is terrible as well. I'm not saying we shouldn't help people, but if you want to help people, leave it up to the churches, leave it up to the religious communities, leave it up to the communities themselves to donate that money to support these migrants. You don't need to take it from the system. You don't need to take it from actual taxpayers. If people want to choose out of their own heart to take care of other people that shouldn't be here in the first place, then that needs to be done by the churches, whether it's a Catholic church, Christian churches, hell, Islam, whatever, Buddhism, like whatever it is. It should be done more as a community, a locality, than rather an actual state or federal government side of things. That's what I believe. I believe we should help people. Okay? These are human beings we are talking about. I understand that all of us agree, hey, they shouldn't be here in the first place, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't support them by feeding them. I'm hounding it because it's a problem that the Democrats created. It's a problem that we can't afford. That's why I'm so frustrated with it. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I like to follow law. It doesn't mean I don't speed at times and do all these things. But in the grand scheme of things, I follow the rules. I'm a rule follower, and I believe in the social fabric, the milieu that we've created here in the United States based on the founding fathers and the ideology that was instituted from them into our founding documents, and thus forward with the progressive ideology that we've been given here to make this a better and great country year after year, hopefully, even though the Biden administration has not done so in the last 4 years. But I believe we should help people, especially as a Christian. But I believe that should be coming from people's generosity rather than the government stealing our money through the form of taxes and then giving it to other people that are basically just stealing the money from Americans once again. The government steals your money, then other people steal it once again. That's what it is. I know people, they don't like the language of that, but that's what it is. It is stealing. It is theft. In the same way as Social Security. You're going to put in 100% of Social Security, you're going to get 70, 80% of it back. Where'd the other 20 to 30% go? Well, exactly. It's the government is stealing your money. That's what it is. And we're just so happy about it. Democrats love taking the money, folks, because it gets redistributed. Do you understand that? It is theft because is it going back to you? There's libs in here that are going to have a problem with this. Is the money going back to Americans? Answer. It is not. It's going to Ukraine. It's going to Romania. It's going to all these other places. That is fine and dandy if we were in a surplus. Help people. If you don't have money and you keep printing it, the money that you're sending other places, not only are you giving it to somebody else, meaning you're not actually benefiting it at all, but you're actually not just paying the principal, but the interest on that money. And it may not be you, but it's probably going to be your kids, all because of this as well. The money that's going here may be on a state level, which you're screwing the states because you only have a budget. The states can't print money. So it makes me wonder, if it can't print money, there's a reason why Rand Paul was talking about the 6,000 plus earmarks that are being introduced through the federal government to pay for like bridges in states, like walkways, like $4 million walkways, $1.2 million buildings to headquarters parade floats and the manufacturing of them. So that that frees up the budget of those states because the federal government's subsidizing or just actually just paying for things to be built there. And so they take the money of that would rather actually go to building better roads and all these other things that the federal government's subsidizing and putting it towards things like this when it should be done. Again, I think on an individual level or even a church level if people want to help other people. Well, Chicago's seems like they're waking up to all this because they've done a freaking 180 here big time. Remember, this is a state that's giving them meals, entertainment, bedding, cell phone services. They're giving them free lawyers. I mean, you could education, medical. I mean, you could literally go down the checklist. Transportation they're paying for, rental assistance, sometimes just full assistance. They're just paying for their housing, free motels, hotel rooms. I mean, you name it. I mean, actually just name it. It's probably going to be given to them for free, or at least a fraction of what it would cost Americans. They're just being driven down because they realize, well, maybe we can't be a sanctuary city, which is why New York City and other places are revisiting this idea of sanctuary because you have these people coming in committing massive amounts of crimes. This comes from New York City Mayor Eric Adams going, yeah, maybe we can't allow everybody here because some of them are criminals and we're just letting them back into the streets and thus committing more crimes. Not my opinion. That is from Eric Adams. I have to be clear, you guys, because some people think I'm always giving my opinion. I'm just giving you information from all these different article sources that we've gone over for the last 3 years and just presenting them when it fits an ideology or a narrative that, one, I am pushing, because I'm a conservative Republican, hence I'm open about it, but also the fact it connects to whatever article of which we're talking about. So Chicago here is moving ahead with plans to evict illegal immigrants from city shelters beginning on Sunday, and they plan to evict more than 2,000 illegal immigrants by the end of April. But where's all the uproar from the Democrat Party here? This is weird because the Democrats wanted this. The Democrats wanted to be a sanctuary city. They called Trump racist for wanting to even close the border and deport people. How is this not racist for wanting to do this? I think this is disgusting stuff here, you guys, right? Are you with me on this? The fact that they're willing to do this? Well, this is a little bigoted, isn't it? I mean, how could you do this to people? This is astonishing. I can't wrap my head around the fact that they're going to be doing this to people when they promised them this. You know what I mean? Of course I'm being facetious. Probably a good idea, but either way, where's the Democrats' uproar after you just got done calling Trump a racist, a bigot, a xenophobe, whatever you want to call him, for 4+ years, going on really more than 4 years now? It's astonishing that this is getting away with, and Democrats, are totally silent about it. If Trump put this going, I'll get rid of it, I'm evicting people from homes, which is probably going to happen when he gets president. We're going to have ICE come in. We're going to remove them. We'll have a nice plane, Boeing 747 Max, by the way, Max, the most beautiful plane you've ever seen. They're going to get 3 meals when we fly them right over that border. Okay, we're going to evict them. 2,000 at a time, maybe 4,000, a lot of them. It's going to be a lot of them. If he was to stand up and do that, the news, the place, these Democrats would lose their ish. And they would. They would. And so they're getting away with this. Now, that doesn't mean I disagree with what they're doing. I'm just saying this is amazing that they're getting away with this. But if Republicans were to do it, we would get called all these names. According to the report from NBC News published on Friday, the first 35 will face eviction on Sunday. The nearly 250 will be evicted from the city and state-run shelters before the end of March. My question is, where are they going? Maybe we'll find out. A total of 2,026 are expected to be evicted before the end of April, city officials. Chicago currently has more than 11,000. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. They have a little more than 11,000. Texas sees this in 1, maybe 2 days, meaning Texas sees 11,000 in 24 hours. Maybe 48 hours. We'll be generous, 48 hours. These people, this has been going on for what, a year and a half that they've only had 11,000? They can't even they can't even handle 11,000 and their city just crumbles. Their state is just crumbling. They don't know what to do. It just shows you that they don't know how to run things. They brag about all these things. Look at us, like they virtue signal. And then when we give them what they want, they wanted this. We said, fine, we'll bust them to you guys. You guys want them. They don't have a place here. Let's send them to a place where they have a home. It's called Chicago, New York City. And so when we give them what they want, what they've been bragging about, all of a sudden they go, oh, they're political pawns. Why are you treating people like this? We're not treating them like anything. They chose a form in their language. They got to pick where they wanted to go. They just bust hound them where they wanted. They wanted to go there. Some of them found out that, hey, you know what? Grass isn't always greener on the other side, like we saw from that Venezuelan family. Looked around at a Democrat-ran city and goes, hey, you know what? We're good. We're actually going to go back. We're going to flee. We fleed oppression. We fleed a war-torn area, however you want to phrase it, a climate change area, according to Kamala Harris. We fleed all that to go to greener pastures. So we go to a Democrat-ran city, and we go, ooh, thinky, thinky, I'm not so good. I think we're gonna go back home. So I'm not making that story up. We covered it here. It is true. Venezuelans went to Democrat-ran cities. They're like, holy crap, this is bad. Maybe we should go home. So they actually went back. So they only have 11,000 and they can't keep up. So this is spread across 23 shelters, just totally siphoning from the system. After a number of delays due to extreme weather conditions, the policy is set to be implemented beginning on Sunday. So just yesterday. I think it's either yesterday or it's the upcoming Sunday. Once the immigrants have been evicted from these shelters, they may find, here we go, alternative housing arrangements, or they can go back to Chicago's landing zone, where they go upon first arrival in the city and request to be assigned to another shelter. Oh, so it's just kind of grandstanding a little bit. I don't know if this is to appease a certain portion of the Democrat Party or what, but it's just going to be a revolving circle, right? You're basically going to remove 2,000 people from 23 different shelters, right? Let's just say. They're going to go to this landing zone, and the people that were initially in the landing zone are just going to take their place for a short time. They'll probably hold them at the landing zone for a certain time and just go around, because what's probably happening is they can't build more shelters, and these people are not leaving the shelters, which is probably why they're evicting them, and ultimately not moving on, of which these people, these Democrats in Chicago, thought they would do. They thought, hey, this will just be more of a processing time. We'll get you connected to a family, or somebody resident in Chicago has to take you up because we're full of Democrats that voted for this migrant right to shelter city. And so there has to be a bunch, like we probably have millions of people are going to house you. Turns out that wasn't the case. It turns out the Democrats are just a lot more talk rather than walk. They're not going to house these people. They're not going to feed them. And so it's going to be a revolving menu. That's probably, or revolving circle, revolving door. That's probably what's going on. That's my guess. I could be wrong. Brandon Johnson, who's just Mayor Lori Lightfoot 2.0. Think about Democrats replace the leftist with just another leftist. That's all it was. Chicago Democrat mayor noted that some 4,500 who would be evicted under the new policy will qualify for extensions. There you go. And be allowed to remain where they are, some until June. I told you, it's just a revolving door. It's just, I don't want to say it's grandstanding because it doesn't go with the Democrat Party's platform of evicting people. I mean, these people in California, when you have actual citizens, American citizens in renter properties, renters' houses, these landlords can't evict these people. So it's the same thing here. So it's just a revolving menu. They're trying to get people around, moving them, shuffle around the same way they're doing at the border. They've been doing this at the border, literally, and that's part of the border security bill, where it doesn't actually solve anything at the border. It just transports illegal immigrants from one sector of the border to the other. We covered it. They had a White House press briefing over it. They had it on the monitors, the plasma TVs, for more trucks. They wanted more trains and airplanes. It wasn't, again, you're wondering, well, why do they need airplanes? Like, are they going to be surveilling the border? Like the border? No. It was just a transport from one sector of the border into the interior of the country. That's not my word. Again, not giving my opinion. That's just the White House. They displayed all of this out there for us. It's in their own information. So, speaking of things happening regarding legal immigration, DHS calls Haitian migrants' alleged rape of disabled teen heinous. Folks, we've heard of stories of these guys, these illegal immigrants, raping young women, autistic women. I mean, we can go down the laundry list of just heinous things they've been doing. Like, they're raping grandmothers, you guys. This is it's happening all over the place. Not, again, I know I'm repeating myself, not my opinion, just fact. So are all of them doing this? Of course not. You have 10 million, well, more than 20, you have probably close to 30 million illegal immigrants in this country. Makes up more than 36 of our states in terms of population. Of course, they're not all doing this. But the thing is, at least the argument from the Republican side of the aisle is this would have never happened in the first place if this people wasn't here in the first place. Versus the Democrat Party side of it is, well, Americans still commit crimes. So even though this person's here trying to prosper, make their life a better life, you still have Americans committing crimes. But, the Republicans' rebuttal to that is, well, they're illegal immigrants are basically committing crimes at more alarming rates than actual Americans are. So that's basically the two sides for you. Well, the Department of Homeland Security has called for allegations that a Haitian migrant raped and disabled a 15-year-old girl heinous. Jesus Christ. I struggle, you guys, even saying it because it's so mind-blowing to me. Then this is why you need to ultimately process people. You just can't allow anybody to cross the border. Republicans' argument is that Democrats are allowing this to happen, and that Democrats who haven't had this happen to their own child are the same people that are allowing this to happen until it actually happens to their own child, and then they get upset with Joe Biden. Why are they saying that? Because it's actually happened in the news where there's people that are pissed who voted for Joe Biden that said, hey, you had open borders. You allowed these people to pour across without actually vetting them. You just gave them court dates upwards of like 2034, 7 to 10 years in the future. We don't know who they are. You're giving them ankle bracelets and cell phones, and they're just throwing them away, meaning they're just let loose. We have no idea how to track them. You're also giving them court dates of which the paper says to be determined, or when they actually have a court date, they don't show up, which is honestly supposed to be deportation under the law. They're not willing to do that. Go and kill then Americans, or as you're seeing, raping them. So Democrats are getting a little fed up with this, which is why it's Americans' #1 issue. This person here, who's a Haitian national charged with raping the teen at a Massachusetts hotel housing migrants last week, entered the U.S. last summer via President Joe Biden's controversial CHNV parolee program. He was flown into New York City directly from Haiti. Interesting. Just flown directly. Didn't even come through the southern border. Just boop, boop. So CHNV stands for Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela. The program allows up to 30,000 people each month. Holy lordy. From these countries to fly into the U.S. and be granted 2 years of humanitarian parole, which allows them to apply for work in the United States. And we don't need to go any further with this because I think we understand the point that we're all trying to make here as Republicans and conservatives. But what you find fascinating is, again, allows them to apply for work in the United States. We just covered a story about Tyson Foods, which is laying off American workers and hiring upwards of 40,000 to 52,000 of these migrant workers that are only here for a couple years, taking over American jobs, willing to work cheaper because money that they make here is, yes, going to be taxed, but it's also going back to their other country. Now, we've seen this on all fronts because other countries are actually having an inflated economy in a nutshell, because what they're doing, there's so many people here illegally. There's so many people are receiving these work visas like this gentleman here, 30,000 people a month, where what they're doing is they're sending the American dollar back home, whether that's being exchanged or not. It's actually creating an inflationary problem in their home country. This went back probably about 2 years ago when we covered that story, where they're having massive problems. And what's happening is the migrants here that are not just out competing in a nutshell American citizens for cheaper labor, but also now they're out competing the labor market in their own country because they're making so much more in this country. So it's actually having global effects on all of this stuff, which is completely wild. Well, now we're getting to our head story, folks. Holy lordy. Oh my, okay. This blew my freaking mind. The fact the CIA played a key role in January 6th text reveal. Now, we're going to come back to this. I want to bring us back just a little bit. If you recall, January 6th, January 5th to be probably more exact, there was surveillance of an individual leaving a pipe bomb next to the DNC. There was also another pipe bomb that was discovered the same day within minutes, kind of close to the RNC. They have this person on tape. So they have this person next to the DNC that left a pipe bomb, like right out there in the open on a bench. There's people scootering across. There's traffic happening. There's like we saw children on the video crossing by. And during the daytime, there's this individual that walks up to the Secret Service and I believe it's Metro Police, and you could see them talking. And he's relaying this information, or what we presume to be the information of like, hey guys, there's a freaking pipe bomb right there that I just saw. They're casually talking, and he walks around into the passenger side of the Metro Police Department. Mind you, he was originally in between the Secret Service, Kamala Harris' Secret Service vehicle, and the Metro Police. Talks to the other guy for a little bit, like 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, and he walks away. And then they just kind of sit there for a while. They kind of just sit there, and then they slowly get out of their vehicle, just hands in pockets, like, oh yeah, you know what's. Pipe bomb was just told, like, bro, pipe bomb's probably 20 feet from your car, probably 15 or less from the Secret Service's car, and probably 8 feet from the building that the incoming Vice President of the United States, the second in the chain of succession, is in the building, and this is where the pipe bomb is. And they're casually walking over, and everyone's like, that's kind of weird, it's kind of random. If you look at the time frame of the pipe bombs being discovered and the January 6th events of infiltrating the Capitol, Folks, you're talking like all happened within like 15 or 20 minutes. If could it be a coincidence? Absolutely. An astonishing coincidence. Folks, the Secret Service had allegedly the Secret Service knew about it. That's what we're hearing. But also the Secret Service had dogs. They already surveilled the area. So what's going on here? Did they know there was a pipe bomb? Was this part of like one of those scenarios of which it's more of like a testing where, hey, did the dogs actually find it? Was this part of like a scenario in which, hey, you failed the test? Was it real? Because if it wasn't real, and it seems to be along the lines of what's coming out from the not just the Capitol Police or the Metro Police, but also the Secret Service, then then you must have known it was real, because based on your lackluster and you just casually walking when there's children walking by a freaking pipe bomb, if it got off, it would have killed them. You know, you must have known it was there, right? So you have the Secret Service, Metro Police, Capitol Police, the freaking incoming vice president. You also have a pipe bomb in the RNC. You also have what was going on at the Capitol all within 20 minutes, and all of this is being discovered and happening. I find it a little weird. So now it gets more insane because you got the freaking CIA that knew about this. The CIA, why are you there? What's the CIA's involvement on this? It's wild. So we have this. Newly unearthed communication records show for the first time. Where was this news earlier is my question. We're going on how many years now? We're finding out the CIA. The first time the CIA played limited but key roles during the January 6th Capitol riots. It says for some time, I will keep it on the screen, some 88 pages of documents that Judicial Watch shared with secrets revealed the spy agency put several dog teams, that's key, on alert near the Capitol, and that it assigned bomb techs to the house side neighborhood where explosive devices were found. There you go. At the RNC and the DNC. Interesting. You want to know a revelation of this? Kamala Harris says she was never in the Capitol, but she was in the Capitol. We have now video of it. So why would she lie? And also, what was she doing at the DNC? Because she wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. A lot of questions going unanswered here, folks. A lot of questions. And this is weird too. Why is the CIA there? Why was the CIA having several dog teams and bomb techs being distributed? Why did the Secret Service pick up on this? Sounds like some foozery going on here, folks. The revelations were in heavily redacted documents provided to Judicial Watch, which had sued under the Freedom of Information Act for intelligence communications on January 6th. Oh, here we go. We're having to go above and beyond to get basic information about, hey, who was there? Who was involved? Remember how we were told, oh, there was no FBI agents involved in January 6th, and it turns out there was hundreds. Oh, the CIA wasn't involved. They weren't there. Turns out they were there with bomb teams, dog teams. Turns out there was pipe bombs. We still can't find the person with the pipe bomb. Why can't we find the person with the pipe bomb, but yet we can find somebody that was 8 blocks away from January 6th with a MAGA hat on that paid cash for a hot dog, and come to find out they know what the guy put on the hot dog, and that dude's in prison versus anybody here for the January 6th event, specifically the pipe bombs. Isn't that astonishing? Now we don't know who he is. Really? The dude that was 20 blocks away, had nothing to do with January 6th, was just there to celebrate things. And you know what? He buys a hot dog cash, and that guy's in prison. Of course, I'm being a little facetious here, but none of these people are. It's astonishing to me. It's astonishing. I find it a little conspiratorial, but I think we can find these people. So they don't have the person that put the pipe bomb. Of course not, because it's probably our own government. But when pro-Trump supporters went to the Capitol to urge at the end of the certification of President Joe Biden's victory, some violently, while virtually all federal and city police had some involvement in dispatching the crowds that day, the CIA has remained in the background. But why? Why? However, the new documents here detail intelligence communication chains that noted stuff's annoying. I'm getting annoyed by all these freaking advertisements. It's killing me. It says here that the text messages, they were there. So, however, the new documents detailed intelligence communication chains that noted the agency's role and presence. Judicial Watch said the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives provided a series of text messages under the heading January 7th Intel Chain, in which 2 separate references to participation by the CIA were involved. One said that 2 CIA bomb techs are assisting with a pipe bomb scene on Jersey New Jersey, and DSTSE, another referenced several CIA dog teams on standby. The government is still searching for who left the pipe bombs at the party headquarters. Of course they are. Of course they are. But again, you buy a hot dog or a soda somewhere with cash. Somehow they know exactly what you ordered, what your name is, how long you were there, and everything else. But they can't find this guy. The text also showed how initial reporting was sometimes in error, such as regarding the shooting death of Trump supporter that was her name, Ashley Babbitt, inside the Capitol. Judicial Watch recently uncovered a new video of the unarmed ex-Air Force veteran's killing by a U.S. Capitol police officer. Babbitt was shot in the shoulder as she was pushed through a doorway to the speaker's lobby, which is behind the house floor. The text suggested that she was shot in the chest on the house floor. They also said the CIA director was informed. So there's a lot of foozery going on here, folks. A lot of stuff that isn't necessarily being uncovered and isn't also being fully transparent with all of us. But should we expect anything different? Nothing's been transparent regarding January 6th. You told us the FBI wasn't there. The FBI was there. You told us that there was nothing really happening other than MAGA supporters storming the Capitol. Well, not really, because there's 2 pipe bombs that were all discovered within like 15 minutes of each other. You also have the massive issue going on with the Secret Service being involved of just casually walking up to a pipe bomb where there's pedestrians walking by, and also next to the incoming vice president. Why was the vice president there, or incoming vice president rather, in the building in the first place when supposedly this wasn't where she was supposed to be? Why did she lie about not being in the Capitol when she was in the Capitol and we have actual video of her leaving the Capitol? Why was the CIA involved? Why were these bomb techs being distributed as well as drug sniffing dogs, or bomb sniffing dogs rather? Probably both. Like, why are you telling us all? Why did we not get the 40,000 hours initially? Why were we only shown 6 minutes of 40,000 hours of footage regarding what took place at the Capitol? And by the way, it was all like the same 6 minutes, just in a loop on every social media as well as news site for years. But then it comes out that when Tucker Carlson receives the information, that there was timestamps regarding what the Democrats looked at, which was everything. So meaning they were actually being selective on what they were showing the American people, but it turns out they just blamed it on their staffers. You heard that correctly. The Democrats blamed their own staffers for looking at the footage and not revealing the footage that wasn't as damning as the footage of 6 minutes that they showed everybody, but they're going to blame those that were actually elected officials for not showing it to them. So you have a blame game. The staffers are blaming the elected officials, and the elected officials are blaming the staffers the same way Joe Biden's blaming his staffers for moving classified documents from basically the White House or whatever the hell he kept them into his home office. It's astonishing how it's always the staffers. It's always somebody else's fault other than the actual elected politicians. So you have that whole scenario of just not having information being vetted and being transparent to the American people in a processing and actual digestible way. But we get to see them, just shooting the shit with Capitol Police inside the Capitol. Mind you, government is supposedly being overrun. The whole government's being overrun, you guys. No longer was America going to exist anymore. According to the insurrection of the Democrat Party, and honestly, even some Republicans are saying this, we're going to be overrun, you guys, by a few thousand people. What does that say about our country? I mean, that is the biggest lie. Honestly, was it a good day? Of course not. Willing to say it. Were we going to lose our country from these 1,000 idiots or so that stormed the Capitol? Yeah, I call them idiots because that's what they are. They call themselves Republicans. I don't call them Republicans. I call them idiots. They're not Republicans. They are people they're idiots that masquerade as Republicans is what they are. Folks, the government was never going to be overran. It's the biggest lie ever told here in this country by the Democrat Party, and it will continue to be one of the biggest lies. Well, speaking of Biden and just one of the biggest lies here, you have critics slam Biden admin for waiver that gives Iran access to $10 billion. So the saga continues. What happened initially was Iran was doing shady business, which it always does. And with that shady business, they've been funding terrorism for years, even going back to the Obama administration when Barack Obama gave them $1 billion in cash to spend on terrorism or whatever they wanted, which we know was going to be spent on terrorism. They've been funding terrorism all across the globe, creating havoc in the region. And so Joe Biden goes, it's a great idea. It's a great idea that we give them $6 billion. And he fumbled it. And then it moved to $10 billion. And we were told, oh, you know what? Well, they can't actually grab a hold of that money because it's frozen. And so they're not going to be able to spend one dime. They're not going to get one dime of that money that we're spending for them. And by the way, the mullahs and the supreme leader and the Ayatollah Khomeini, like they're not going to get this money. Nobody's going to get the money. They have to go through a third-party vendor, which is approved by the United States, and they have to order it from them. And then that third-party vendor is going to send them the money. But we were told you're not getting any of the money. Well, it turns out that's not true. I know, shocker. They're getting the money, folks, and Iran is siphoning this, and Iran already has come out and said, we're going to do whatever the hell we want with it. So you got Biden saying one thing, and then you got ultimately the Iranians saying another thing. Turns out they are siphoning from this, and they are getting the billions of dollars. All the while, the Houthis, that are an Iranian-backed terrorist proxy group, is attacking our merchant vessels, is attacking our soldiers, killed our soldiers, 3 of them, has done all these things, and we're still giving them money. I know. The Bidens are supporting, by definition, they are literally supporting terrorism by shoring up money that would have been budgeted going towards at least however much, going towards Iranian citizens to help feed them, because that's the government's job. Now we're giving them $10 billion that whatever money that would have went to humanitarian aid is now being shored up to go towards what? Yes, you have it correctly. You have it correctly. Terrorism. Not my opinion. All of this is being detailed of what I just explained, from Fox News to the Daily Wire to the Daily Caller to Real Clear Politics. I mean, everybody says there's in this clip, which we showed on Saturday's episode, in this clip, you have a reporter saying the exact same thing I am. And you go, oh, you're giving your opinion, man. You can't give your opinion on this. I'm relaying what people are saying. It's not me. I'm just regurgitating of what everybody's saying. The U.S. extended a sanctions waiver that critics slammed as tantamount to continuing to fund Iran's disruptive activities as it proxies attack U.S. forces across the Middle East. We're going to give them money as they continue to do things to us, bomb our merchant vessels, fly drones and attack our U.S. warships, as well as our merchant vessels, along with our allies' merchant vessels, as well as going after our military installations. We are still giving them $10 billion minimum. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken signed an extension to the initial 120-day waiver that allows Iraq to pay for Iranian electricity through an escrow account where it has so far deposited, are you sitting down? An estimated minimum $10 billion without fear of reprisal for potentially breaking any U.S. sanctions. And the State Department goes, we've put more sanctions on them than anybody else has. You have this also echoed by Karine Jean-Pierre and Joe Biden whenever he's not trying to drip, saliva into his drip tray. They're not going to be able to touch this. We put so many sanctions on them. If you're hounding them so bad, why is it they're still doing all this stuff? Why are they still attacking us? John Kirby just the other day on Friday's White House press briefing was telling Jackie Heinrich of Fox News that we've been really imperative, like we've been really severe in terms of our attacks on the Iranian regime and also their terrorist proxy groups. Well, not really, because not only are you getting them $10 billion, which basically you're thanking them and incentivizing behavior of going after our allies' merchant vessels along with the United States merchant vessels, but also you're not doing anything that's hurting them enough to stop them from whatever they're doing. Clearly, you haven't sent a strong enough message. And by the way, you allowed them to attack us 127 times before you ever decided to do anything. And the thing that you decided to do was first say, hey, don't do that, stop it. And then you bombed a few empty installations that haven't been used in who God knows how long. It was just a bunch of cement. So this is happening once again. Rather than taking care of our veterans, quite literally, because some of them are dying and they're not veterans. They're actually those that are actually on the field right now being deployed. But rather than the money going to our veterans or going towards building roads or railways or our streets or our homeless, whatever you want to call it, helping the people that are addicted to drugs here get off drugs, get them off the streets, rather than sending the $10 billion there, this is where it's going, you guys. That's my problem. And by the way, what am I going to say? We don't have $10 billion. It's a minimum $10 billion. You just printed $10 billion or put it on credit by passing out bonds or however the hell you did it. And now we're going to give them $10 billion minimum. You're going to pay the principal, you are, for somebody else's electricity. You're feeding somebody else's country, and you're going to have to pay for the interest on that. Folks, we don't have that. I don't think Americans understand. It's all fine and dandy until that bill starts kicking your ass when you can't pay your own bills. You can't put food on your own table. You're not making enough money, which a lot of Americans say they feel that right now. Wait till you get called in on this. Wait till your taxes increase. That's the only way of paying for it. It ain't disappearing. And like I said, when you have all these other countries that want to harm you, it's going to be so bad that you're not even going to be able to pay for your own military to protect you against these foreign adversaries that want to harm you and want to harm your family, regardless of whether you having a D after your name or an R, meaning Democrat or Republican, we're all Americans at the end of the day. They want to go after you, and they will go after you. Well, we're going to end off with this story here, folks. Fairfax schools to let students opt out of Holocaust lesson, citing students were different with the different experiences. I want to hit you with a statistic. Look this up yourself. It's more than this, by the way. I'm going to be extremely conservative. 50% of Americans have no idea that the Holocaust actually happened. On a certain level, I think it's 18 to 34-year-olds to be specific. So I'm 35. It's basically like right under me. So I want, and I could be getting those numbers wrong. I know it's more than 50%. It might be 40, but 40 to 50 we'll give it. And I think that's actually under. Of 34 to 18-year-olds, 18 to 34, don't even know the Holocaust happened. Yeah, let that one sink in. One of the worst events ever to happen in mankind. No clue. And so now they're just going to allow them to opt out. So stuff like this happens again. And then people can't wonder why there's anti-Semitism happening. People can't wonder, oh my God, like why are people always bashing Israel for everything? Well, probably because they don't know what happened to the Jews. They don't understand the oppression. I was watching literally a video. I know I'm going on a rant here, but I was watching a video yesterday, and this girl on this podcast said the Jews have never been oppressed. That's an exact quote. She said they've never been oppressed. And I think it was Michael Knowles that wanted to let her climb out of that. I think it was Michael Knowles talking to her, and it might have been the Whatever podcast. And he was like, I'm going to let you walk that back. It also might have been Charlie Kirk, actually. Watch a lot of videos. Either Charlie Kirk or Michael Knowles. Now I'm leaning more towards Charlie Kirk, saying, hey, I'm going to let you walk that back because the Jews have been oppressed. Like there's a thing called the Holocaust, like massive things have happened to them. But students don't understand like what took place in history because our education system has gone down the dumpster. So Virginia's largest school district will let students skip a presentation from a Holocaust survivor, saying the diverse district includes students with different experiences. You have a Holocaust survivor. I would have prayed for somebody like this to come into my classroom when I was a kid and listen to them. We need war vets back. Like, I understand a lot of them from World War II are disappearing. We need more people that have had massive experience in their lives. They're a walking history book. Come into our classrooms and talk to our youth. The problem is, you guys, our youth is so bad. Our education system has gotten so bad that our youth don't care about this stuff. They don't care about it whatsoever. They say they will, like when they're at home. Oh, I would care about that. Walk into a classroom and just see the disrespect that not only happens to teachers, but those that come in and try to provide an actual education to them about real experiences that happen around the world. I think your head would spin, and you'd see the disrespect happen, even at a good school, by the way. I'm probably saying this for a reason. The disrespect is real. So maybe these people shouldn't go into the classroom because all they're going to be is disrespected. And they're kind of getting disrespected right here by saying, well, people have different experiences. I can't wait to break this down because I haven't read it yet. We understand that all students have different experiences. If you prefer to opt your child out from participating in this presentation, please email your child's history teacher and they will be provided an alternative assignment. Now, I get if you want to leave it up to the parents. I kind of like that aspect. Who knows what's going to be said, but it's not anything you couldn't find in your history book or what's being taught already in the classroom. Please email your child history teacher with any questions that you may have. A letter from Cooper Middle School. The letter referred to a scheduled presentation from a Holocaust survivor to 7th graders, according to this person, last name Scalia, a mother of one of those middle schoolers. Fairfax County Public Schools claimed it is advertising an opt-out for the benefit of Jews. Each year, Cooper Middle School invites a Holocaust survivor to speak with students to affirm meaningful learning experiences that increase representation of all identity groups that are essential to individual student learning. Some Jewish students have previously expressed discomfort while engaging in dialogue around this visit. Yeah, you should have discomfort. Learning about the atrocities in the world is going to create discomfort. Why would it not? Millions died, were exterminated, gas chambers, lit on fire, starved to death, died of disease, tons of issues, experimented upon. I mean, of course, but that discomfort should happen because that means you find the seriousness and meaningful behind it, or meaningfulness behind it, that it was important. It was a huge thing that happened in history. And having that feeling, having that understanding, hopefully will not allow mankind to replicate something like that again in the future. And that's why it's so important to have these tough conversations, maybe not in middle school necessarily, but for sure high school, about these ideas of, hey, communism is bad, socialism is terrible, it has resulted in 200 plus million deaths around the globe. Capitalism isn't the most perfect form, but it is the greatest form in terms of what has been established by mankind and has led to the prosperity of people leaving poverty and going into some sort of class structure that has allowed them to leave, again, that poverty level. So yes, the discomfort's going to happen, But that's history. History leads to discovery. I've read history books and cried. Like I know I'm going on a tangent, but there's a great book called Indianapolis. It's about the USS Indianapolis. And the book gives actual accounts. Like there's these men that were interviewed. It gives their accounts of what happened in the water. These guys getting eaten by sharks, stabbing each other in the neck to drink the blood of their fellow brother in arms because they're hallucinating just to stay alive. Even to the point when they were being rescued and these amazing pilots, the weather was so bad that they were putting their own lives in jeopardy, still decided to land in the middle of the ocean to save these brave soldiers after they just got attacked by, I believe it was a Japanese warship. I believe it was Japanese. And ultimately, again, killing each other, being eaten by sharks. While they were swimming to the planes, they were still being eaten by sharks. They're still being attacked by sharks while they're trying to be rescued in real time. That book had me, man. There's a lot of books out there, especially regarding these military men, Navy SEAL books, that will sit there and move you. And also Holocaust books. There's a book that was for $5 at Barnes & Noble. I can't believe it was just $5. It's one of the best books I've ever read, called Auschwitz. And it was referring to, I believe, a Jewish gentleman, if I remember correctly, that was involved with Dr. I'm a totally butcher's name, Mendele, the doctor of death, but he was working on autopsies that were being performed on Jews right after being exterminated, and he gives his eyewitness account. Was it a discomfort for me? Absolutely, absolutely. But you see the atrocities. You have to understand those atrocities. One, to see how good life is today, but also understand that there's real evil out there that wants to harm you, and you have to do everything you can in terms of a citizen of a great country like the United States to make sure you vote in people that actually adhere to the Constitution and want to uphold it, because this is just an experiment, and this experiment can go wrong just like it happened in other countries, and this can be destroyed from the inside out, which is where I wrote an entire book on it. So the same thing happening here. So you have Scalia saying on social media that she is drawing less charitable, more likely conclusions. The left has been pressured by Islamic extremists to demonize Israel following Hamas terrorist attacks on the Jewish nation in October. You also have, for that reason, school leadership makes every effort to partner with families of these students who are 12 and 13 years old to keep them informed. This opt-out allows family the opportunity to make the best informed decision on behalf of the student. Now, things are different nowadays, folks, okay? Things are different. And look, they're even going here with 9/11, which was I was going to bring up, but not even 9/11. I remember when I was in U.S. history, I watched the JFK assassination, the Zapruder film, where you literally see President John F. Kennedy's head just blow open. And you're watching that, and it was my junior year of high school. Was I just had discomfort? Was I uncomfortable? Yeah. Yeah, it was. Because I'm watching a guy die in real time, a president being assassinated. But I also thought about, why did this happen? Like, what led to these events? Like, what took place outside of the conspiracy theories? But, like, what took place to this? Like, it created a curiosity in me of going, I want to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. In the same way here, when we look at 9/11, when we look at the Holocaust, when we look at World War II scenarios, when we look at the Revolutionary War, when we understand actual text that paints a picture for us, whether it's in words, in picture, or video, we need to look at this and analyze it with our youth as well as parents and go, this is what happened. This is what took place. Don't take my word for it. Why don't we walk through a history book and actually experience this moment together? Even though I experienced it in real life, I want you to experience it and fully grasp it, understand it, so that we, as American citizens, don't create a scenario in which we allow this type of thing to happen again. Will it create discomfort? Absolutely. In the same way, this person will probably struggle a little bit, but struggle creates perseverance, and perseverance allows somebody to overcome obstacles. And if we never present somebody these obstacles that they're going to have to persevere to overcome it, or to be able to overcome it, then how are they ever going to grow as an individual? And there's a lot of books that have been talking about coddling the American mind, diminishing the American adult, because we're not allowing our youth to be in discomfort. We're not allowing them to struggle. We're not putting them in situations of which they actually have to overcome and struggle to overcome that very situation that we put them in. And so that's why we're having a lackluster youth here. And this is for a whole separate video, but I think you understand what I mean. We've gone on long enough. We've gone over an hour. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I try to do the best job I can. I always enjoy hanging out with y'all. You're awesome American patriots. I just want to again emphasize, we do have a 99-cent membership. It all goes back into the show. It helps support us in growing, whether that's new equipment, paying for advertising, whatever it may be. It all goes back into the show. I just want to thank you so much for everybody that does contribute. We got awesome patriots, awesome members, people that are always in the live chat in the comment section. We hear you, we see you, And with that being said, please hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. Watch it again on loop if you can. Hit the mute button. Since you already listened to it, it does support the show, folks, your viewership, and helps the analytics at the end of the day. With that being said, I'll see you next time here on The Ball Break Show.